Well, it's me again. Here we are. It's been a while, hasn't it? But, like I said the last time, I'm back!
It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again.
For my triumphant return to the YouTube space, you may have thought, oh, he's probably going to come with a review for a brand new movie. What's out right now? Suicide Squad? No, we're not reviewing Suicide Squad. For my triumphant return, I shall be taking you on a trip down memory lane. And this trip involves none other than the Scream movie franchise. That's right. My next several videos, along with maybe a few modern hits, are going to be the Scream series. My good friend, Samuel Graham Goff, is obsessed with the Scream movies. They're his favorite movie franchise. He has dressed up as Ghostface plenty of times. And this goes out in his honor. So Sam, this is dedicated to you. So today's video will be about 1996's Scream. This movie was directed by Wes Craven, who also directed other notable horror films such as The Hills Have Eyes, Nightmare on Elm Street, and Swamp Thing. And so Scream was just the next iteration in his horror directing career. And let me tell you, it is an amazing adventure. I had never seen this movie. My knowledge of this film franchise came from the parodies and spoofs that I saw through the Scary Movie franchise. And then just a little bit of knowledge about just that opening sequence that's so famous from the movie with Drew Barrymore.
Why do you want to know my name?
I want to know who I'm looking at.
What did you say?
But past that, I didn't know anything. I knew that there was a killer dressed up with a ghost face, and that was about it. Didn't know anything about who the killer was, nothing. So I went in with a fresh, clean slate, and I'm glad I did. It was a great adventure. One thing that I really, really loved about this movie is that it is very, very self-aware. It knows that it is a horror movie, and it plays with the horror tropes. So much so that, there's a character in the movie who is kind of a movie fanatic. He loves horror films, and throughout the film, he's always talking about, well, these are the rules of horror movies,
There are certain rules that one must abide by in order to successfully survive a horror movie.
And I thought it was really interesting how they wove that in there, and they were very just self-aware. Wes Craven was very self-aware of what this movie was. The cast includes very notable names, kind of a 90s superstar list, including Neve Campbell, Matthew Lillard, Drew Barrymore, Jamie Kennedy, Rose McGowan as well as in this movie. So a lot of big names that maybe weren't so big then, but definitely became big afterward. Now, a lot of times with older movies, from the early 90s, the question is, does it hold up? Is it still a compelling film in the year 2021? And let me tell you, this movie was extremely compelling. It kept me on the edge of my seat the entire time. Throughout the film, I always like to think of myself as someone who catches on quickly in these types of movies. And I, for the life of me, could not decide who I thought the killer was. I would think it was one person, and then the next minute I would change my mind and think it was a different person. So a movie like that keeps you guessing, keeps you on the edge of your seat, that's a really great movie in my opinion. This movie, I also loved how they naturally blended the horror, the scare, and the comedy all into one. This movie is just as scary as it is funny. There are moments where I found myself laughing. There are moments where I found myself jumping out of my seat, screaming. And then the movie is, there are some pretty gory scenes. Some of the deaths in this movie are pretty wild. And so it has something for everyone in terms of the horror element, and the fact that they then blend in that mystery aspect, keeping you guessing, keeping you trying to figure out who the killer is. Definitely is a movie that I would watch over and over again. Probably going to make this a definite October Halloween staple, or an anytime staple for that matter. It doesn't have to be Halloween time for you to get scared. Hence me doing this review in mid-August. To round out this review, we always have to, I always like to talk about, the cons, the negatives, if there's any critiques that I have of the movie. And honestly, I don't know if I can think of any. Maybe I just went in not knowing what to expect and just really enjoyed it. But it's just really hard for me to think of a negative thing. Obviously I think there are moments in the movie where characters do things that, you're like, why are you doing this? But then with this particular movie, I think that that's part of the allure and part of what the movie is trying to be. It is talking about horror films and what people do and don't do, and, the obviousness of don't do this, but people doing that.
Ever, under any circumstances, say, I'll be right back. Because you won't be back.
I'm getting another beer. You want one?
Yeah, sure.
I'll be right back.
And so I really, outside of that, I don't know if there's any critiques that I can think of. Maybe some of the performances could have been a little bit, better in terms of acting wise, but I think as a whole, the ensemble and the leads, I think they did a great job. With that being said, I would give Scream 4 out of 5 ghost faces. Now that we're at the end of this video, it's time for some housekeeping. Now, you may be thinking, Kyle, how can I trust you? The last time you made a video, you said you were back, and then you left us hanging for years. And you're right. I did do that. In my defense, in the past couple years, I've gotten married, I've started school again, and the biggest thing, there was a big pandemic that happened, and I didn't really know what was going on. So, I think, moving forward, I can earn your trust back. I'll be putting out more movie reviews. Obviously, there's Scream 2, 3, and 4, and then the newest Scream coming out in January of next year. So, hopefully, there will be more movie reviews for you to watch. And on that note, I hope you enjoy your Friday the 13th.